And also another thing alongside that, before we get into the movie stuff, I wanted to ask if you'd share the story of the world tour with Sinatra. So the dates here: 59, Emil arrives. This tour was in 1962,
Yes.
I believe. And you have a nice story about that regarding how working with Frank, and also how that you say may is the beginning of your collecting instruments of the world. So maybe you can tell us a bit about that, how that came about.
Yeah. Red Norvo was a vibraphone player, really popular in the early 60s. And he was working with Frank Sinatra in Vegas. And wherever Frank would go, he started using a sextet. And Red was his vibraphone player. He got to really like the vibes, Frank did, and used it extensively. So what happened was Red got hung up with the mob, kind of, in Vegas, and he had gigs that he couldn't get out of. And even Frank couldn't get him out. So, lucky for me, I got the gigs.
Oh, man.
And I just started to play with Frank quite a bit. And this was, I think, 1961-ish. President Kennedy was our guy, and he asked Frank to do a tour under the auspices of the State Department for underprivileged children of the world, and to try to found hospitals, if that's the right word, all over the world, and under the auspices of the State Department. And Frank said, I'll do one better. I got my own plane. I'll pay for the tour. You just have the ambassador in each country meet us, so we don't have to go through the worry of customs and all that stuff. So Frank had this big plane, 6 musicians, and the belly real empty, the belly of the plane. So I started collecting instruments. And I filled the belly of Frank's plane with instruments. Because buying the instrument was one thing, but trying to get it home regularly would be as much, if not more, than what the instrument costs to get it home. So I lucked out and started collecting instruments. That was the beginning of my collecting instruments. So,
Fantastic.
and it was a great tour, really beautiful tour.
And I read in the book you worked with Frank up until the Duets album in the 90s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, that's an interesting read on that one, too.